We got Aaron on the line, and Aaron is on Skype. Aaron, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hi, good evening.
Hey, what's on your mind tonight?
There's something that has come up a few times, and it's an invention by Tesla that was supposed to broadcast free energy to the Earth.
Yeah, I've heard about this. I'm skeptical.
So, I have a little background with this. What it was there was two companies, one funding Marconi and one funding Tesla, to produce the first radio.
Right.
Marconi beat him to the punch because Tesla's idea was a little grander. He wanted to broadcast up into the ionosphere and use the air as an insulator, but it would allow radio transmission to the entire Earth at the same time. So anyone everywhere could listen to this radio broadcast around the whole Earth by putting an antenna up and receiving this signal from the ionosphere.
Is that possible?
Yeah.
Okay.
But one of the problems with it is that you would also draw down electricity, which wasn't free. It was just that he was pumping it up there. And as you drew down electricity, there was no real way to gauge that. There was no way to charge people for it. So you'd be able to plug into the Wi-Fi anywhere on Earth, but how do you charge people if it's just being broadcast like that? So you ended up with this decentralized network of radio markets, as you probably know, where radio only reaches so far, and you have people in different markets, and it's high redundancy.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with the internet, they were able to charge at the plug end, where people could plug in the internet, so they centralized it all. I was wondering if you had any opinion on how this might have affected the power of the government. So by having this decentralized radio network, I think it helped free speech a lot, and we're seeing the re-centralization of this with the internet. And I was wondering if you guys had any thoughts on that.
I'm confused by what you're saying here. You're saying the internet is re-centralizing communications?
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
How is the internet centralizing communications? I mean, it would seem to me there are now more nodes than ever who can broadcast whatever it is, or narrowcast, as it were, target, send out whatever sort of content that they want to. And the radio business is the business that seems centralized to me, given that there's a government agency that oversees which radio stations are allowed to exist.
So the FCC is relatively new. At one point, you'd pirate radio stations, and even today they can exist anywhere. But ICANN controls all the domain space in the entire network of the internet. You can't have a website without going through ICANN.
This is the central registry. I see where you're coming from. This is the central registry of websites, the DNS services. Each ISP, each internet service provider, has a DNS service that hooks into this network that you're talking about, run by ICANN, to essentially download basically an internet phone book of when you put in freetalklive.com. There's an IP address that's behind that, and the DNS service provides that lookup service. So when you on your laptop or desktop or smartphone type in freetalklive.com, your phone queries your ISP's DNS, and the DNS has this information about, here's the IP address for that website. It's all an instantaneous process, but that's what's going on behind the scenes. So I see what you're saying. You're saying ICANN, this kind of centralized registry, is a point of weakness for the internet. And about that, you are absolutely correct.
Well, let's not forget that we're moving from decentralized as far as information storage. It used to be that you'd keep all this stuff on all your information, your files and everything on your laptop. But now it's essentially moved to people are keeping things online. Google offers this Drive thing. And
It's just an offer. You don't have to keep things online.
No. The only claim has been made is that centralization is occurring. Not why. I didn't claim that there was a centralization whip being wielded by a centralizer.
Well,
I simply said that things are centralizing.
There are different online clouds, though. There's Googles and Amazons and other.
That's a lot more centralized than millions of laptops. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, with Dropbox.
Yes or no?
Well, it's just an option again. I mean,
yes,
with Dropbox,
it is
your
a centralizing option people are using.
With Dropbox, your files are still on your computer. I mean, I understand Dropbox has now, I guess they got Condoleezza Rice working for them or something like that. So again, if you don't want your files to be read by Dropbox or Google, then don't put them there. I don't really see what the issue is with that. I think the ICANN thing, though, I think that's a legitimate concern, and that's why I think that the Namecoin is a cool idea. Are you familiar with that, Aaron?
Yeah, actually, I run a Namecoin node.
Right. So for our listeners who don't know, Namecoin is like an iteration of Bitcoin. It's a modified sort of code. There's all these competing altcoins out there competing with Bitcoin, this decentralized currency. Namecoin actually does something special. It's not just money. It actually allows you to register sort of this alternative domain name inside this alternative domain name system or DNS service. And that means that you can have a domain name that exists outside of ICANN, and you could access those domain names through products like Meowbit, for instance, and other things out there that are similar. So, I mean, there's a way around, there's a workaround for ICANN, but obviously most people aren't using that. This is a niche sort of thing right now. So how do we get away from ICANN, I guess is the big question. Do you have any proposals?
I guess that's what I was trying to get at, is originally there was an economic incentive to decentralize because no one could afford to just broadcast free internet radio signals to the whole earth. But now we've been driven this other way economically by these large companies centralizing power, and now there's starting to be a push, and I think the only real push is the fact that the government's onerous and people are getting scared of them. It's what's pushing us to decentralize.
Cool. Thanks for the thoughts tonight, Aaron. I appreciate hearing from you.
There's also things like sunspots and catastrophes that occur, EMPs.
Yep. I'm not sure what that has anything to do with any of the conversation we just had.
Well, because a desire to decentralize. When things are centralized, it's easier for them to be destroyed.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.